The Phoenix Suns enter this season with a newfound outlook, in my opinion. When you talk about the Phoenix Suns this year, I look at them as a team that I have a lot more optimism in because of the fact that, well, I'll be honest, looking into preseason and media day and so on and so forth, there seems to be a different vibe going on there. I'll look back to the end of last season, and I'll be quite frankly honest. My positioning at that point in time was I felt like Frank Vogel was being looked at as a scapegoat. Just my honest opinion from that point in time. Well, I didn't think the coach could have had that much of an impact. I didn't know that there was so much of a disliking of Frank Vogel at that point in time. But here's what I do recognize now is that we've now got to this point in time, and there's been a coaching change. Frank Vogel's out, and Coach Bud's in the door now, and he's the new head coach. And there is certainly, without a shadow of a doubt, a new vibe, a new energy that has been brought upon the Phoenix Suns locker room. That cannot be denied. Now, whether or not that is because they actually have real point guards on this team now, whether that's because of more chemistry or the coaching change, I don't have the answer to that right now. But what I do know is that there was a change that's been made, and the Suns seem like a better tight-knit team now than they were a year ago. And that should be exciting to see because when you talk about this team, talent is great. But talent can only go so far when you talk about the playoff games. You need chemistry, you need experience, and that's why we see teams like the Boston Celtics win championships. That's why we see dynasties like the Golden State Warriors, why we see dynasties like the San Antonio Spurs, so on and so forth. And what I see now is a team that looks like they have great chemistry. So I want to break down that team today because the Suns team is a team that if I were to do this team preview, maybe a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, I probably would not be as high on the Suns as I am right this moment. I honestly now approach this season when I look at the Phoenix Suns and I say, you know what? It's no longer is this a contending team. In my eyes, in my viewpoint, I think the Phoenix Suns are certainly a NBA championship contending team. Are they my favorite to win it? Probably not at this moment, but that doesn't necessarily matter at the end of the day. We can all debate this is early season. None of that really matters. The fact of the matter is that the Phoenix Suns are in position to be a team that has a chance at winning an NBA championship this year. Why do I say that? Well, let's break down this team. The biggest thing, in my opinion, is that guess what? Who would have thought it? They actually added a point guard. And not just one, they have two. Tyus Jones, Monte Morris. The point guard position is critical, especially when you have a team where you feature three of the great offensive players in the NBA today. When you have a big man in Jusuf Nurkic that needs the ball at different points in time, also a great pick and roll man. And then you have a guy like you drafted, and I'll talk about other guys on this team as well. But you put guys that are star players like Bradley Beal and Devin Booker out of what their natural position is. Their God-gifted abilities were not being utilized because they were having to do other things that they were not necessarily the best at. They were great elite players and they could hold down the point guard role, sure. But that's not what they were created to do. And so you add in two guys that are true point guards that will help this team take a massive jump. Listen, I look at the Phoenix Suns and I look at this offseason. No, they did not add a guy like a Paul George this year. Or for their situation, they didn't add a Devin Booker or a Bradley Beal or Kevin Durant. But what they did is they added guys around the star players, and I love that. I absolutely love the offseason the Suns had. In fact, I might go as far as to say I think the Suns had the most underrated offseason in the entire NBA. You added two legitimate point guards. You drafted big-time players. Listen, they nailed the NBA draft this year. Ryan Dunn, Osa, both those guys are going to be guys that can contribute from day one. Both now they'll be big, but I think in the future they're going to be great players as well. That was massive for them as well for this team. Adding Mason Plumlee, a good backup center. Listen, this was a very underrated offseason for the Phoenix Suns. All props deserve to be given to the Suns in this front office and what they did this summer. So let's break down this roster now overall. The starting five is Tyus Jones, Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, Jusuf Nurkic. A very, very good starting five. You have Devin Booker, Kevin Durant. Two guys that I'm comfortable and confident saying are obviously top 10 guys, top 15, whatever the case may be. Elite guys. Bradley Beal is a little bit harder to grasp and understand exactly where he ranks in the NBA right now. A couple years banged up out there in Washington. Phoenix Suns season last year did not go very well for himself, but he's going to be able to play his shooting guard role now this season. He's going to be in a lot more comfortable situation, a lot better offense for his game, and I think we could see a lot better season. But I don't know exactly where to know to rank him at this point in time. But either way, you have three great players right there. A very good pickup in Tyus Jones. Getting him on the contract deal that they got him on is huge. Absolutely bargain deal for Tyus Jones there. And then Nurkic, a solid, reliable center down low. Let's go to the second unit now. Monte Morris. As I said, Monte Morris would have been the starting point guard on last year's team. Now you got him coming off the bench. Massive move for them there. Grayson Allen, who started games from the last season, had a great season. He's now going to be a backup shooting guard for this team. Love that for him. I think he's going to fit in that role perfectly. I alluded to just a few moments ago, you have two rookies that I'm very, very high on. Ryan Dunn, seen a lot of big flashes, especially just recently in the preseason from him. He's going to be a guy that one day could be a starter for the Phoenix Suns, but for the time being, he will be an exceptional rotational player for the Suns this season. And then your other draft pick, and Osa, who was just on the show just a few weeks ago, he's a guy that I think will be battling with Mason Plumlee. If I were to guess to start the season, Mason Plumlee will be the backup center. But mid-season or later, Osa being the backup center would not shock me at all. I know there's rumors even possibly saying that could Osa be the starting center by the end of the season. Only time will tell there. But regardless, I absolutely love Osa. He's going to be the guy that's going to be the franchise overall center one day. He's going to be a great rotational player for the time being. And then, like I said, you have Mason Plumlee. You have 3 deep at the center position. Love that for the Phoenix Suns. Then we go down to the power forwards position. Royce O'Neal has great chemistry with Kevin Durant. He's a guy that can space the floor, a good 3-and-D player. And then you have Bobo. He's obviously a wild card. We know what he does do and what he does not do. Is he going to be able to take another jump, become a reliable rotational player in Coach Bud's system? Only time will tell, but I do like his addition to this team. I think he's going to be a great player for the Suns. And then you look at the third string guys. Frank Kaminsky, just brought him in. He ends up winning the final roster spot battle. Solid guy for the locker room. Don't expect him to play too much for this team, but overall, like I said, great locker room presence for the Suns. And then you have Damian Lee. He was hurt all of last season. He's back now. Do I expect him to play extensive minutes this season? Most likely not. But is he a good locker room guy? Yes. Can he be a guy that can contribute to some extent? Absolutely. So that's what you got for the guys that's on guaranteed contracts. Now, let's go down to the two-way contracts. Jalen Bridges. He is a guy that I believe could be a standard contract player by the end of the season. I love that undrafted signing by the Phoenix Suns. They nailed that one. Ty Washington, brought him back home. He's a guy that can probably be a decent two-way guy. And then Colin Gillespie, a good veteran player, been a part of the Denver Nuggets for a couple years now. He's another guy that I like him being on the two-way deal as well. So what do I look at for this team now this upcoming season? Well, as I said, the past few weeks have really shifted my mindset on the Phoenix Suns. I'm confident this team is a contending team. Doesn't mean they're going to win it all this year. You never know what's going to happen in the NBA. But there's no reason that they're not in that tier 1 of teams in the NBA, in my opinion. You look at this roster overall, and I say it's set. There's not a lot of moves I'd like to make right now. Right now, I think what we need to do, the first 3 months of the season, identify the rotation. Who exactly is going to fit? How does the young guys develop? So on and so forth. And what you're going to do at that point in time then. By the time the trade deadline approaches, what moves you need to fine-tune? Because you have options there. You look at a guy like Grayson Allen. He could be expendable. You look at a guy like Royce O'Neal. He could possibly be traded. You have guys that could get you other pieces. And so that's what you're going to address then when it comes time and you're looking at the trade deadline and so on and so forth. But overall speaking, this team, I don't think any more moves need to happen. This roster is set heading into the regular season. And I think the Phoenix Suns fans should be ecstatic for what this team has the capabilities of doing this season. Now,